This is going to be an episode, Joey, that I don't know how long it will take you to wipe the smile off your face from listening to Larry Murray say that he has the Joey Mure Bank, and that has been the genesis to his success.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I know you can't. Like, someone's saying the Russ Morgan Bank. I mean, it's just an amazing thing to have a bank named after you.
Well, I mean, I think that, I'm just so humbled that I wouldn't have allowed them to ever get that string going. I would have shut it off. I would have cut it off early.
Oh man, he's so righteous. You're right.
I'm not, but definitely proud moment. Just for the podcast, man, proud for them to hear their story of how they've gone from looking at a single family home to now purchasing and acquiring many apartment complexes. And Joey, I'm just the way we always do. We always tie this back to our family somehow, some way. I was talking to Betsy, my 11-year-old. We were going to breakfast this morning, and she's like, "Dad, have you figured out the business where I can make my $200 yet? Because I need the $200. I need you to come up with the idea so that I can come up. I mean, aren't you the idea guy? Like,
wait. What's the $200 for?
Well, she had at the beginning of the year had made a commitment to the church for $100 for a faith promise that she wanted to give.
Yes.
And the other $100 is so she can buy a hoverboard. Okay. I mean, priorities here, right? Like, get the churches their money, give me my hoverboard. It just, but like, she is definitely the one in my, of my kids. I have no doubt that will be running one of our businesses much better than we do. Just got to get her of age, got to get her the ability to drive first. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
So what's the idea?
Actually, I need you to help me with that idea. I'm not certain. I talked to her the other day about it, and I said, well, here's the thing. I don't want you trading time for money, right? I don't want you working, right? I don't want to train you to work for something, like meaning like, go clean my car or something like that. Right. Just thinking, what could the 11-year-old do? And she said, so I told her, I goes, here's what I want you to do. Why don't you read? I want you to read some of these different books that we have, and I want you to write a book report on them. And I'm willing to pay you to do that because it's going to give you education in areas that will help you down the road. And she came to me, she said, Dad, I don't want to do a book report. Writing is Kate's thing. I'm more like a hands-on type of person. What can I build you? Can I create something for you? Like, she's the one that gets all these little projects. So here's the thing. Yeah. I do know what it is. You know, Mark Roper?
Yeah.
The YouTube guy, the former NASA engineer
guy. Yeah.
So he has a class, an engineering class that you can sign up for and go through. And he will let you do that process. During that process, you build 3 different unique builds. And I'm going to do that. That's going to be a gift for her. And we're going to use that and find a way to sell those builds. But also, I'm going to pay her because I'm just going to use it for marketing, just like we're doing right now. I mean, there's a beautiful thing to be learned out of that.
But wait, the biggest thing that you just said is not to change money for time, not to exchange that, or time for money, excuse me, but to invest in yourself. And that is tying this all together. Larry and his wife, Cassandra, made the very pointed decision. And I'm not going to give away the whole story, but they were going to decide whether to invest in one piece of real estate or to invest in a course/community group, a learning about multifamily. And that has made all the difference because they stopped, they figured out what kind of investor they are, and they invested in themselves. And now it is like to the moon.
It is so good. I want you to listen to it. Just know when Larry's talking, you're going to have to throttle down to 0.5, and then you can go back up to 1.5 when Joey and I interject our commentary. But thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode with Larry.
Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Mure.
Welcome to the show, guys. We are in for a treat. You probably need to get your seatbelt on. That's my 100% precautionary label here for today's show. Larry Murray is joining us live today. Larry, so glad to have you, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. There's Stallion, Russ. Thank you guys very much for having me on today.
Well, it's easy to have you on because you've listened to so many episodes that you've said that this has been the genesis to your meteoric launch. And I'm just excited to hear about it. Thank you for all the props you've given Joey. He's been so excited, to tell me about all the things you've been doing. And so let's talk about that. Like you mentioned to me that you and your wife were traveling down from Baltimore to Birmingham to look at buying some rental property. The realtor who brought you down, Joey had paid her, and she said, "Hey, you need to come talk to a friend of mine. He's got this interesting thing called infinite banking, and it helps investors." So we'll let that be the starting point. So tell me what happened from there.
Yes, sir. So we actually went down looking at single-family homes, and yes, this agent did say, "Hey, you need to talk to him." While we were down there, we ended up getting beat by cash buyers. To be honest with you. We didn't have any money to invest as far as what was needed to play in that world. We put a couple offers in there and up here as well. And like I said, everywhere just the cash buyers are beating us and stuff. But yeah, we were told, "Hey, you need to go listen to this gentleman and find out what's going on." And I found out about what it was, and I was like, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a listen. So went in there, and lo and behold, we met Joey Mure. Yep, the Stallion started to give us the scoop, and I started hearing things I'd never heard of before. I'm like, what is this? So I was intrigued. I was like, wow, I've got to check a little bit more into this and stuff. Another interesting little fact there is while we were down there, we met up with the local RIA to take a look or to help get their guidance as far as buying property down in Birmingham and stuff. And the Saturday that we were actually leaving, we met with Joey earlier in that week on the 21st of June, 2018, and the 23rd, that Saturday, we were actually leaving. And they said, "Hey, we're having a financial meeting. Why don't you come over and listen?" So we went over there and listened. Guess what? They were doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I've got to find out more. So go home, check things out. Got on a call with Joey. Next thing you know, here we go. We're throttled down, and we grabbed our policy. Got that first one up and running, and I had no idea how I was going to fund it initially. But they kind of gave me some ideas as to what to do. And I had a lot of money that was going into a deferred comp. I actually shifted that over, and I still have some money going in there, but the majority of it shifted over to fund the bank. Well, that set us free right there. I had no idea where we were going, but here we are. So
hold on. Before you get any further, there's something that you said I don't want to miss. You said, "Well, I heard what this was about, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me." What did you hear it was about, and how did you say, I don't know if this is for me, before we actually met?
So I found out that it was about life insurance, and I had a life insurance policy in the past. I'd had a whole life policy. It was very expensive, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. I still had some insurance through the fire department, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go listen. So
you met with me despite that because of the relationship with the realtor, but I want to bring that to the forefront because there's somebody that has heard of infinite banking. Maybe you're listening right now and you're like, insurance, why? I don't understand. Like, this has never been a positive thing in my life, especially around finances. It's always been put in a negative light. So what are some of those things that you thought of? You said it was expensive. Was there anything else that came to mind when you're like, insurance?
Well, it was expensive. Like I said, I'd already had insurance through the fire department. I've been a full-time firefighter now. I've been running calls, a career firefighter for 31 years, and then with the military and volunteer, 39 years. Been actually running calls since October 1982. And in that time frame, like I said, I had to protect the family. So insurance is one of those things I had to have. And then, like I said, they offered it. And then I had bought a term policy a while back. A whole life, but it was super expensive. And in that process, it was like, okay, well, it'll build cash value and all this. Well, this didn't really build cash value. It was going to be a while. It wasn't like what you had explained when you started explaining and how we front load it with cash, and you got to watch how it'll grow right there. Then when the money goes in, you'll be able to use some of it. You can't get it all up at front. You get about 70 cents on the dollar at the beginning. The next year, maybe about 80 something, and then like 90 something. And after your third year was our break even point for this policy. Some of them maybe 3 years, some of them maybe 5 years. But as we started moving forward with this, I started seeing that. But it was a hard pill to swallow. I mean, the amount of money I was putting into it, I was like, man, this kind of hurts. I could use that money for things. But in essence, I did get to use that money for things, and that was the real cool part.
I want to ask, because you came down looking for real estate properties, right? Yes. So you're a real estate investor. What is it about infinite banking that matched so well for you in your process of buying rental properties?
Well, as I mentioned, when we were down there and we put some offers in, I mean, we were trying to do it with a loan, and there were people coming in with cash offers. Well, they took the cash offers. We weren't even in the same playing field. And then when I heard about the infinity banking, I'm like, well, this might be a way I could save up money. And that's where it was kind of being marketed to the investors is you could take this money and you're not really buying it necessarily for the insurance. You're buying it as a place to store your cash. So I'm like, wow, this is a good idea. I can store cash here and I can gain access to it without having to go in and disclose every penny that comes in. If my parent gave me $1, I didn't have to go get a letter from her saying, oh yeah, it was his birthday, so I gave him $1.
Which is what happens whenever you're having to go get mortgages and stuff. There's all sort of questions. What were you doing with cash prior to that? You mentioned putting in a deferred comp. Was that not able to be invested in the real estate deals?
Yeah, I can't get to that deferred comp. I got a lot of money sitting there. I want a property right now, and I can't get to that money until I retire. So yeah, that money that's in there is tied up, and yeah, you can't get to it unless there was some kind of a hardship, and then you've got to meet their criteria for hardship. What you think is a hardship and what they think of a hardship is completely different things.
So freedom was not it wasn't the deferred freedom compensation. It was deferred compensation, just as it said.
Oh, right.
And you said, when I started doing this, I started kind of funding this, bang, like that's where freedom started to happen.
Correct.
So pick up from there. I didn't want to miss those other things because I think there's a lot of people in that boat who maybe had some of those same thoughts. I just thought it would be helpful for you to cover, but pick up from there.
Yeah, so we had the premium we had to pay, but then we also had the rider, and the rider is really the thing at this moment that was really intriguing to me, and the fact that I could put that money in there, and if I needed it, I was told that I could just take a loan against it and get it out. And okay, this is really interesting. So started funding it, putting it in. As soon as I got money in, we had a little bit of money sitting in a savings account, and that was what I was going to fund part of it with because I had it laid out. I was like, okay, I've got a rider for the next 5 years. So I've got to make sure I can fund this. It's like, okay, I can fund the first 3, but how am I going to do last 2? Well, I'll figure that out. So here we go. We're up and running, moving forward. We funded it. And lo and behold, I had some stuff that I had to take care of. My truck started having issues. So I'm like, I got to get some money. Where am I going to get? Hey, how do I get this policy thing? How do I get this loan? So I made some calls. And then finally, next thing I know, I filled out this form. And I think it was like 5 days later, the money showed up in my account. Boop, that was it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is cool. So I took that. I got my truck fixed. Then the mechanic's like, "Hey, this is great. You got a decent bones here, but I tell you what, you need to sell the truck." So I was like, "Oh, geez." So when I sold the blooming truck, I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So I sold the truck, and I'm like, "All right, now I got to get a down payment. How am I going to do that?" Oh, wait, I got that money. Let me see if I can get some more. Sure enough, I filled out another little thing, and boom, that money showed up. I think that one took me like 6 days to get. Between 5 to 7 days, it seems like the money always hit. And, here I had my down payment sitting there. I was like, this is really cool. So I used that to fund my, to get my truck. That was the first time I actually ever got a new truck like that, a full size. And I was pretty stoked about that.
Wait, 1 second. So compare and contrast that for me. You borrowed from your policy to take care of the issues that you had. The truck broke down, then the secondary thing, you had to buy another truck. Mm-hmm. Assume you had not done this. What was your MO in the past? Like, would you go to your deferred comp and get access to some of that and take care of those things?
No access to that. I try and save money and try and do it. Honestly, I'd be picking up another used truck. And that's what this was. I had gotten an old beater truck for like $6,000 or something. And I made it last for about 5 years. So I did pretty well. But then she was dying, so I had to do something else. I would not have had a chance to get the new truck like I got. I mean, that was this allowed me to be able to actually scale up a little bit, so now I don't have to even worry about a reliable vehicle.
Well, you hear all the time that opportunities find cash. You just didn't know it's opportunities to fix a truck and buy a truck. This was more for the auto industry way to get access to your cash. But that's not the end of the story, right? Like,
no, not even close. Not even close.
As we were talking, you were sharing that, like, as this process, you're looking for rental property, you meet Joey, the light bulb moment just starts getting a little bit brighter at every turn. Talk about the next couple of things that started leading you down a different pathway than you ever thought you'd be on.
So, well, through this process, like I said, it wasn't just the truck. I mean, I had older kids who had college, so we ended up using it to help for college. It's just to shorten it just a little bit. We had gotten another vehicle prior to, and that one was we paid that off through the policy. We ended up I had appliances that ended up breaking. I guess when I bought my house, they were just at that right age, and then boom, down goes the washer and dryer. I'm like, oh man, the washer's leaking on the floor, the dryer's not working. I was like, man, so I had to buy that. That was in 2019. Then the roof was leaking. I got up. I actually gone through, became an inspector. I started looking at my roof in my attic, and I noticed some leaks that I would have never noticed had I not done that. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I had to put a blooming roof on the house. Well, once again, I did that through the policy. Then my appliances, my oven went out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Can anything else go wrong? Yeah. The freezer went out. Okay, great. So now I got to get all appliances. So I ended up doing those. Well, in all this, I'm still saving money. I'm still putting money into this, and I'm wanting to invest in the real estate, obviously. Well, even doing all of that, I was still able to save up enough money because it got to the point where, okay, we found another property. Now, through this whole process, I was listening to podcasts as well. So specifically Wealth Without Wall Street's podcast, once we met you, Joey, and I obviously – through that, we've met many, many people, and we've heard of a lot of different ideas and ways to make passive income, et cetera. Knowing Wealth Without Wall Street with the policy, that could potentially be a passive income down the road as well. So we're looking for the long term. So we keep funding this thing, but it seems like I had to keep taking money out. Well, another really cool thing is I didn't make any payments. I had no extra money. I had no cash. When I put the money in, I had no extra cash to be able to use for all these things that I need to use them for. I mean, I deployed it, so I pulled it out. But then it's like, okay, if I would have done this through a bank or taken a loan or something like that, I would have had payments. Well, this allowed me to get it without making payments. And I was taking over the debt as I was paying things off as well. So in that, it was actually freeing up monthly cash flow for me, money that was going out on a monthly basis for car payments, different things I didn't have. So that helped eliminate things and freed up a lot of money for me as we went forward. Fast forwarding up to, I guess it'd be, this is 2021, so 2020, it was like, okay, we've got enough money in here. We need to look back at a single family house. So we found a townhouse up here in Baltimore we're looking at getting. But once again, through all these podcasts and stuff, it's led me to all these different things that we've done, and ended up meeting up with another group that does multifamily. So in that process, we had a decision to make. Do we spend the money and get the one property and maybe float a little bit and then not have any more money for a while? Or do we invest in ourselves and get and go into multifamily? So we elected to take the big leap. We invested in ourselves. We joined the group, and let's fast forward now one more year. Matter of fact, today, 1 year ago, we had joined the program, and here we are now, and we've got trying to think what it was, lots of property that we've invested in. Now, once again, where do I get this money? This was, we found a 54 unit. I'm like, okay, so let's do this. So as we're working on the 54 unit, I also had an opportunity to get into 172 units. It was as an LP. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, where am I going to get the money? Well, once again, we've saved up. Now, I've only been in this thing like 3 years, but the money going in there has been going in, and like, okay, here we go. So I ended up taking the money from, once again, a policy loan, and I invested in the 172 doors as a limited partner. I'm like, hey, this is kind of a no-brainer. Ran the numbers, things look good. We're going to get some good returns. We're going to more than double that money, in the time frame that we're invested in that. It's like, cool. Meanwhile, I still had the 54 that we were working on. Well, we were going to go into that and try to not put money into it, because we found the deal. We put the team together, underwrote it. And this is a team sport, obviously, in the multifamily world. So I didn't do that alone. There was a lot of people involved with this process. But in that, we weren't going to put the money in. But since we were part of the general partner team, the bank says, hey, you have to put money in. It's like, are you kidding me? Okay, once again, where do I go? Now, my bank accounts look ugly. If you look at my bank accounts, they're like, oh, but where am I storing my cash? That's right, my Joey Mure bank. That's right.
Hold on. Russ,
shift it over, keeps going in there, and that's where I keep funding everything from. And remember, I'm not taking the money out. I'm taking little policy loans against it. So the first 2 years, with all those things I had to do, I paid no money back to that other than I made the interest payment. That was it. One interest payment once in the year. And then the second year, I did the exact same thing because I had no extra cash. Well, by year 3, now I've got money going in there pretty significant. I got that going back in to fund that. And having that money going back in, it allowed me to build it back up. And like I said, then since they told me I had to put money in, now I had money to jump into that. So I went ahead and I put a little extra money into to this general partner one, the 54 door, and to better my returns, because I'm a general partner in that, but I also bought some limited partner shares. So to make the capital run a little bit quicker.
Russ, I remember my dad specifically say to me, Joey, you gotta go to college. I don't want you to end up like me. And what my dad was saying is, in order for things to change, things have to change. You can't end up just like me.
Well, we as parents, sometimes we take on the burden thinking about our kids and how we want something better for them. And we want to know, what will their future look like if I don't take action, if I don't do something different?
See, in my house, I'm the role model. You're your kid's role model. And the buck stops with you. It's time to take action. If you're ready to take action, join us at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport and get started on your own journey to financial freedom.
All right, let's jump back into this episode.
Another cool part about that is it was coming up on my anniversary date when we were closing this thing. So we got an acquisition fee. Well, I had a big hole. Where do you put the money? Joey Mure Bank has got a nice big hole in it. Let me use it there. So I got the acquisition fee. I put it in the Joey Mure Bank. That goes in there. And then we found this next one, the 17 unit. Well, once again, general partner. Guess what the banks want you to do as a general partner? Yes.
Put money in.
Get some skin in the game. So what do? I take the money out that I just put in. My acquisition fee went in. It cleared. Once it cleared, I wrote my little policy thing and boom, pulled money back out and threw that at the next one. So every single dollar that I have invested through multifamily right now, both the limited partner 172, the 54 as a general partner, and the 17 as a general partner, has all come through my Infinity Bank. So every bit.
I'm gonna let you take a pause, and at the same time, I'm gonna let our listener go back from 0.5 speed to 1.5 speed, because Larry, you're throwing everybody off. They listen to Joey and I at 1.5 speed, but they've had to downshift to get
significantly.
So I'm gonna let you take a quick break. I'm gonna recap right here what I heard. Joey, Larry came to you, somehow understood what you were telling him about life insurance, and explained to him that this isn't life insurance. This is a cash vehicle to get access to your money, so that then you can go out and do some really cool stuff. Opportunities happen. It was lots of life thrown at us, which we all know that happens constantly. But then you made a pivotal decision to invest in yourself, which is absolutely the best place. The first place we should invest is in our knowledge and in our networks and getting ourselves in a position to take action. You did that. You started buying through that knowledge, started buying multifamily properties. I think I've added it up to about 240 something doors or something like that, which is crazy. That's amazing. But along the way, you're taking policy loans and you're repaying them now when you have cash flow, but it wasn't required. There's just a lot of little bitty things that were happening in there. For the person who's listening to this for the first time, it's like a lot of things flying at them they don't quite know. But what does this feel like? I want to first go there, like, because there's a lot more to your story. But what does this feel like knowing that you have the ability to make these decisions as compared to where you were before?
Oh, before I wouldn't even consider being investing in multifamily like this. Like I said, I was just trying to get a down payment for a little single family, and then through this, and like I said, through that also, it was a matter of I wasn't planning on putting the money in. I was trying to save and save and save so I could potentially get something bigger, down the road. But then through that group and everything, it and then the bank making me put money in, it actually gave me the freedom. That's the word we're looking at right there. This gave me the freedom to move forward and work on getting our family set up to where we'll be financially free. And that's the big key. I mean, I've been just blessed with this whole process, and the fact that we met you back in 2018, and it's set us on a journey. And it isn't just the Infinity Bank; it's the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. And the fact that those coupled together, that they gave me the direction as to listening to the podcast, gave me the direction as to, okay, what different avenues are even available out there. Another thing that I saw is a lot of people tend to focus on one thing, and that's very excellent advice, and that's probably where you need to be. But I've also noticed that Russ, Joey, you guys are in many different things with a lot of different. I love listening to how much money you guys are getting or not getting from your different endeavors out there. And with that actually set me free as well, because you know what? I've got this going. I've got a good product going here as far as the multifamily, and I'm actually branching out at this very moment. I've got 2 properties I'm analyzing right now to get into some short-term rentals. Once again, where did I find out about this? Multifamily? Well, about Wall Street podcast. What about short-term rentals? Well, what about Wall Street podcast? I mean, all the different things that I'm doing is literally it all stems from what you guys are putting out. You got some great information, some great products, helping people understand what their what's the word I'm looking for here? Their type is, their investor type. So through your process, and it's just amazing. And like I said, the freedom, I guess, Russ, is the big thing right there. The freedom this has given us to move forward and do things that I would have never fathomed in the past.
Well, what I hear, Larry, and I think it's so clear for everybody listening, is there's confidence because you took steps that led you to more and more education, that then led you to what is possible. Because before, I mean, you didn't necessarily say these words, but I kind of felt like it was, you were under some sort of a roof, like a ceiling that you didn't set it for yourself. It was already set, and you just needed to be exposed that there's much, much more above that. And now you're the guy that's outside of that box that everybody else is kind of stuck in. And you're able to say, look, guys, it's really cool out here. Come join me. Like,
hey,
there's a lot going on.
Let me give you my number. You're going to invest, right?
That's right.
Well, talk about, I would be super interested to hear what the conversations around the station are like now as compared to before you took this trip down to Birmingham.
Oh my goodness. The guys are like, where are you going next? What have you bought next? They're watching very, very close. I've actually had some people, look into actually getting some policies. I've told them to contact you guys, et cetera. I think a few have gone down that road as well. I mean, money's one of those things we try not to talk a lot about, but when it's your world, and the fact that you're buying all these properties, and the guy's like, did you get that thing yet? Did you buy that property yet? Oh yeah, we closed on it. Are you kidding me? No. How many doors? 172. And I got a guy who's got like 12 rental properties right now, and I'm sitting here at 243, and he's like, holy moly, maybe I need to look at doing something different. So the conversations around the table do get rather interesting sometimes.
Well, and the other thing I think is so cool here is if I said, hey, I met this investor the other day and he's got 240 doors, the first person or first type that comes to their mind is not a firefighter. not
Right.
somebody like you think that there's limitations on what's possible based on, the typical salary for somebody in the service world, firefighters, policemen, teachers, whatever it may be. You don't necessarily think that they have more opportunity than somebody who's making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But the difference is you took the necessary steps. You figured out who you are as an investor. You educated yourself. You followed a process, and now it's just like you flipped the game on its head. And I know that you mentioned multiple times Joey Mure Bank, and as much as I want to like get excited and like rub that in Russ's face, because nobody ever calls their policy the Russ Morgan Bank, not even me. And I mean, I give him credit all the time for that. The real thing is I want to tip my hat to you. I can't take any credit for the fact that you took action, and that is an undeniable force in this whole process that gets me super excited. And I know as you're driving down the road, you're like ready to run through a wall. Like you have the ability to do exactly what Larry and Cassandra and their family have done, because there are no limits, right? You can do exactly what Larry has laid out.
Component here is just the networking and meeting people. I mean, that's my first letter of intent to purchase an apartment building was like $2.8 million. I didn't have $2.8 million. I had no freaking clue where it was going to come from. But guess what? I'd met people through exactly what you just said, Joey, through the education and meeting up the people and joining the groups and getting out here and doing it, taking the steps, following the steps, and taking action. You can sit there and analyze things till you're blue in the face, or you can actually do it. I had no idea what an LOI was. I had to make phone calls and say, hey, what is this? How do I even do this? I had no freaking clue. I was still going through the class. So you just got to keep on moving, and then if you're willing to take that action, the world is your oyster. You can go anywhere. I'm looking at buying properties in Puerto Rico. I'm looking at buying properties in Orlando, Florida, the Smoky Mountains, Oregon, all over the place. I could put a team together anywhere. I'm not worried about where the property is. If the deal was working and the numbers are right, look out, Larry's going to be in your way.
I want to wrap this up. The goal is freedom, and you've said that over and over again. What does that look like for you? Like when
freedom for me is retiring from the fire department. Like I said, 39 years. I've been doing this thing. Like I said, 31 as a career, and my body feels it. I don't recover as fast as I used to do. The pills are going off 2-3 times in the middle of the night. So your sleep is completely interrupted. I used to be able to recover in a few hours here and there, maybe half a day. Now it takes me a solid day. We get a good working fire. I go teach a class. I teach fire and EMT, and those make some long, hot days. When you're in there going over and over and over, taking people into burns, or standing there on your feet all day, teaching people to splint and learn about heart attacks, etc. So my freedom is going to be getting into real estate full time. My freedom is going to be retiring as soon as I possibly can. So I'm going to replace my income and leave. Then I don't have to worry about the pension. Don't have to worry about Social Security. Don't have to worry about anything like that. We'll be able to just jump in a vehicle and go, or jump on a plane and go. We love to travel. We like to travel the world. So, and we've been doing that. So
that's really cool. Well, thank you, Larry, for taking time to come on the podcast.
Hold on, Russ. You can't just let him go yet.
Well,
you can't let him go yet. Because here's something that I do know about Larry that you may not know. And the difference is not just with him today and his family in today, what he's learned and where he's at, what freedom looks like. I want you to talk real quickly, Larry, about what freedom looks like for generations to come because of what you've done.
So at this point, we've only discussed the fact that I've got my policy, but I don't have just my policy. We also have we got a short-term policy on my wife that is going to be converted over to a IBC policy, and then I've got one on my son. And a lot of people talk about college and college funds and this and that. Well, what if your kid doesn't go to college? The world is changing. Okay, what if they don't want to go in that state where you're trying to save and put that money away? Where do you get this? Is all these people are trying to put money away. Well, some people will buy a house, and say, okay, well, we can sell this house and pay for your college. Well, what if you get a life insurance policy on them? then he's got money available to him. I mean, I think when we got my son's policy, he was 6 months old. And the money that he has in there now is pretty significant compared to where it's supposed to be. It's probably over $4,000 higher than where it's supposed to be because I'm using the vehicle the way it's supposed to be used. So he's supposed to have, I think we figured it out, around $50,000 when he turns 18 to between 18 and 20 years old. I think he's going to be well over that because the way that we're funding the policy and making things happen with that. So he will be able to go to any college he wants. He'll be able to get a vehicle if he needs to get a vehicle. He'll be able to get married if he wants to get married. He can take a senior trip if he needs to take a senior trip. We don't have to worry about funding him in his school years because that's all being taken care of through his policy. That's where all that money will be, and we can just take a little loan against that and use it. And then if he gets a car, he can pay it back. So we'll teach him how to use money and how to apply it. If he wants to go ahead and buy his own place, he can buy a house and rent it out. He can do some house hacking, start putting his money to work. He's going to be set up down the road. The other thing is this is life insurance. So if, I'm a little on the older side, so if something happens down the road, the family's going to be taken care of with that. And we're teaching them how to use this as well. So it's, it's not just a me thing, I thing. It's literally, you're looking out for your family. So I'm in a job that requires me to be, take risks. And with those risks, like I said, that the backside of this is it is insurance. So there is that potential. And even if I have a big policy loan against it, who cares? Because the thing's grown so much that policy loan is just be absorbed right up in it. They want to give me that money because it lessens their liability. But my policy is so big that my family's going to do better with this policy if anything happened to me down the road than any of the stuff that I've had through my fire department years. These force everything I've had in the past. So and it's just growing.
The biggest thing though, Larry, is the legacy that you're creating is not just about products. It's about knowledge. And the confidence you're speaking with right now is something that your son is picking up. Mm-hmm. Whether you're trying to or not, he's picking it up. He's learning and will continue to learn what you now know because you did stop and you did invest in yourself. And anyway, I see the ripple effect of that for generations. And that gets me fired up about what we do is impact lives, and you guys are now continuing that impact. And so anyway, I'm just really, really grateful that you'd be willing to come and share with people your journey. And I'm praying that there is like tons and tons of people that are following right behind you as a result.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me and allowing me the opportunity to come in here and actually tell my story. It's been an incredible journey, from 2018 to 2021 and getting ready to hit this 2022. Oh man, I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, we're grateful for you, man. Thank you so much. And thank you as well for listening to this podcast. If you're fired up, you want to figure out what Larry learned and want to get on a call, we won't force you to talk to Joey, but we have plenty of other coaches out there that we're happy to give you just a little bit of guidance and point you in the right direction, point you to the right next thing. You can go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/free call. And we really appreciate you listening. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.